All right, so we are going to wait for a few more people to come in, but today we are going to talk about what every agent should know um, after you've got your real estate license. So if you don't have your real estate license yet, this is still good for you to learn what you're going to want to know and be ahead of the game instead of behind and trying to catch up on here. So, okay, perfect. So it is exactly 1 o'clock. All right, give me 1 second here. Something just happened. And let's fix this. All right, I'm gonna have to fix this right here. Okay, thanks for bearing with me there. All right, so I am so glad that you guys are here. If you've got any questions that I have not answered, always please put it in the comments and I will be happy to get those questions answered for you. So first and foremost, you have either got your real estate license or you're just about to get your real estate license and you're wanting to know what is it you're going to need to do to be successful. And this is going to be about like your first 30 days. I will tell you it's a lot. It's not a little, it's truly a lot. And you're an entrepreneur, so there's so many things that you need to learn, and it's not packaged in a pretty bow because everybody is going to be doing something different. And because of that, you're going to have to find your own way. First and foremost, before you can work, before you can do anything, you're going to have to find a brokerage. And I've got a previous live video that I did last week on finding a brokerage. So if you want the full video, you can go see that one. But just in a nutshell, you are going to look for a place to work. Now, when you're looking for a brokerage, there's a few things that you're going to want to think about. You want to think about, are you somebody who is great working by yourself and learning everything along the way and you are good at being self-taught? Or are you better if you are part of a team where someone is going to sit next to you, hold your hand, and walk you through everything? There's nothing wrong with either one. You just need to know what your style is and what is going to make you perform the best. And then that's what you're going to look for. Uh, I believe all brokerages are great brokerages, and I believe that there's a time and place for everything. And so you have a season in your life where this one works better for you now, but then 3 years, 3 months, 30 years later, you might go in a different direction. But you're not going to be able to find the right brokerage unless you know who you are and what your learning style is. Now, I don't recommend going to a brokerage where your mom, your sister, your brother, your best friend is at, because what works for them doesn't necessarily mean that it is going to work for you. So I am a very big believer of you finding the best brokerage that is going to work for you. And let me go over here real quick. Okay, wonderful. Now in this, the next thing that I recommend is, let me get my banners up there. So yeah, sorry, that was the find a brokerage. Don't overly be concerned about the compensation. I mean, I know that we all need money. I mean, unless you're independently wealthy, you're like the rest of us and you need to know how you're going to earn a living. But you pay for education. You're either going to pay for it in the commission split, where the brokerage is taking a larger portion of the money if they're doing a lot of hand holding and they're providing a lot of support and services and tools for you, or maybe even leads, or you're going to pay for it where you're going to keep most of the money, but you're going to be responsible for getting your education, your training, and buying your own tools. Either one is fine as long as you know what your style is. And for example, I had somebody that wanted to join our brokerage, and I should have known better. Um, really wanted to help this person out. They really liked me and said, I'm going to love working for you. I was concerned because they did not live in our town. That is not a problem. The problem was is they were somebody who really needed to be in the office every single day, sitting down next to a group of people and working off of that energy is how they were going to be successful. They did not have that. They stayed in their house. They did not go anyplace. And so they did not do very, very well because they didn't have the support that they needed. So that is what I'm saying is know what you need. Don't worry about the compensation. It will come. And as you get better, you might start at a lower split, but you're going to get to a larger split because you're going to be successful. And then you're going to not have to worry about what the compensation is because you're going to be calling it. So the most important thing is if you don't have the right brokerage, it could make or break you being successful and staying in the business. So that was the first one. Now, the next one is mindset. Okay. Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you are going to be right. If you feel like this is going to be great and it's going to be a wonderful business, it is going to be. If you feel like it's going to be a lot of hard work and everybody is going to steal from you, that's what's going to happen. So whatever you think is going to come true. And you really want to safeguard your mental state because people who are not successful are going to tell you how difficult it is and how hard. And that is true. But it doesn't need to be where you live because it's already hard enough. You need to be in a good mental state. Like everything that's bad that's happening to you is a learning opportunity because whatever's happening to you now is going to happen to you in the future. But now every single situation is going to be a tool that you have to know, you know what, I've already been there. I've already done that. I don't have to worry about it. This is how you handle it. And there are many times I will have the same situation coming up, but I have different personalities in there and they get handled a little bit differently. And I always feel like, okay, I'm constantly learning. And I love to have the challenges because I'm always growing. I don't think I'm ever going to survive, stay the same. I never think that it's going to be stagnant. And the great thing about that is that if you're always learning, you're always going to be better than the next person who's like, nope, I've done it this way for the last 50 years. I'm not changing a single thing. And they are usually out of business. So protect your mindset. A lot of people bring you their drama and they throw it on you. And that is everything from the agent on the other side who may be going through something and you're the punching bag that day, to your client who could be having something going on in their life. You may know about it and they're wanting to talk to you every day about it, or they're not telling you what's going on, but you're still the punching bag. So let me give you an example. I had a situation where the sellers were getting divorced. And it was a lot. Obviously, one did not want the divorce. The other one did. And every day I had the one that didn't want the divorce calling me and crying and wanting to know how they could keep the relationship alive and not have to get divorced. While I had the other one who was like, I don't care if you sell the house for $1, just sell it. I'm out of here. So you've got to protect your mindset. I always tell my agents, somebody has to drive the train. And if you're on the crazy train, you can't drive the train. So you got to step outside of all that crazy that's going on right here. And you've got to see the bigger picture and navigate through, like, how are you going to get everybody to a successful closing? Because that's what they're here for. They're wanting to sell, they're wanting to buy. How do you get everybody through a successful closing with all the personalities that are going on while you're in the back of your mind going, okay, well, you just worked basically almost 24 hours straight and you're learning all this new stuff. So you've got to protect your mindset because there's going to be a lot coming at you. You're going to be working with a lot of different people and you got to filter what's coming in and just let that garbage go and just hold on to what's good. And keeping your mindset in a healthy place, you want to surround yourself with people that are also in a good, healthy place. The people that are like, it's a down market, but that's better for me because people are leaving and I don't have as much competition, who are always looking at the glass as half full or refillable. So I know I spent a little bit of time on this, well, a lot of time on this, right? But that is because your mindset is going to make or break you in this situation. So please protect your mindset. Next thing is make sure there's no comments. Okay. You can say this is a job, but it really isn't. You are an entrepreneur. You are self-employed. If you do not go to work, you do not get paid. There is no sick leave, there is no vacation time, there's no 401k, there's no family medical leave on here. You literally have to balance everything with, if you don't do something, are you going to get paid? So, for example, this weekend, I just wanted Sunday off. I just wanted a few hours that I wasn't working. And I decided I'm going to go to the movies. Now, right before I went to the movies, I saw an email come across that said, "Hey, I'm looking to move to Gainesville. I need to see properties next weekend. Are you going to be available?" And I was like, okay, okay, okay. Do I not go into the movies? Do I answer this? How long is this going to be? Can I just give my family like an hour and a half of my time? And I decided I can't work 24/7. So by the time I did call them back, they had already reached out to a different agent and they said, well, this person called me back. And so I'm going to work with them, which is totally fine. I made a decision. But that's what you need to understand is every decision that you make is going to impact your pocketbook. And that could be good or bad. Now, I wasn't upset about this because if this person was just calling anybody who would answer the phone to show them property next weekend, they had no loyalty to me. I didn't think it would go anywhere. So I feel like, okay, I dodged a bullet on that one. But when you were deciding, are you going to sit down with your family at dinner? The phone's ringing and you just did a lot of activity to get that phone to ring. And of course, they're going to call at dinner time. Are you going to step up from dinner and answer the phone because they could be calling the next person? Or are you going to sit down and be present? If you feel like, okay, you know what, I need to take my dog to the vet. And of course, the phone is going off. You need to understand every decision you make is affecting your pocketbook. This is not where you, like I said, you're going to use your vacation time and you're still going to get a check at the end of the week or the end of the month. You know, if you don't make the video, if you don't learn the product, if you don't do the open houses, if you don't door knock, if you don't do all those things, there is no money. And you can't do it tomorrow because you've already lost today and you're not going to get today back. So you have to remember you are self-employed. And because you are self-employed and you are the business owner, you do not have all these people going, let me lay out for you everything that you're going to have to learn. And I'm going to teach you how to be an entrepreneur. No, I mean, think about it. If you were opening a restaurant, would you go to the restaurant down the street, let's say it's a pizza place, and go, hey, by the way, can you tell me about the sauce that you make and where you source all your stuff? No, nobody is going to do that for you unless you pay to go into a franchise. So that's the way it is in real estate, is that you have to learn this business. Yes, some people are going to show you how to use some tools, things like that, but they're not going to give you the blueprint for what makes their business successful. And even if they did, you're not them. And you're going to have a different result because you've got a different personality and you've got a different style. So you've got to remember you are responsible for your business, nobody else. I hear so many agents saying, well, my broker didn't give me any leads. Why do they have to? Like, if you're coming into this with your hand out and you're asking everybody else to feed you, um, people get exhausted with that. And you also make the least amount of money because there is a cost associated with getting those people and handing them off. And when they are going to hand those people off, you are not going to really get to pick the quality of person that you're going to get, the area and the dollar amount. And you're going to have to give up a lot of your money because you didn't do the work. So I firmly believe in teaching people how to do the work, because let's say you're in your town and you wanted to move to a different state. If you do not know how to do the work, then when you move to that different state, you're probably going to starve to death because you don't know how to do the work. So you need to know how to do the work and get the job done. You need to know that this is not a job. You are an entrepreneur and you need to act like one. And that means that at the beginning of this, you are going to put in a lot of time. You're going to do a lot of learning. You're going to make a lot of mistakes. And that's okay, because every single one is taking you closer to the end where somebody else has just given up and said, you know what, I'm out, I'm done, which that is okay too. You want to just find that out at the beginning. So the next thing that you're going to want to do in your early days is you want to, you need people. you're not just going to get your license, go out on the street, be at the grocery store, and as you're going down the aisle to get your eggs and milk, going, "Hi, I'm in real estate. Hi, I'm in real estate. Oh, here's my name badge. Do you want to buy or sell?" That's not going to happen. You are going to tell your friends and family that you're in real estate. So what? They probably know a bunch of other people in real estate that have a proven history, and you are brand new and you don't know anything. So you are going to need to build your database. And I always tell everybody, what I want you to do is put everybody on an Excel spreadsheet. The easiest thing you can do is literally take your phone, go to your contacts, and you can export all of your contacts. And if you don't know how to do that, there's this thing called Google. Google it, and they will show you on your specific device exactly how you export your contacts. And so you're going to say, well, you know what? I don't have all this information. Well, at the very least, you got a phone number. You may not have an email address, but you got a phone number. You can take that and you can start filling it in. So a lot of times I just have, like today, I just had Brandon. I got 6 Brandons in there, and I'm like, okay, who are all these Brandons? So it's making me better about how I put information on my phone. But I could text Brandon and be like, "Hey, Brandon, this is Tammy. I'm so sorry. I don't have a last name with this, and I can't remember why. I've got you in my phone. Can you help me out?" And you can just be open and honest. And they will say, "Never contact me again," which great. I'm gonna just take Brandon out. Or they'll be like, "Oh, we met at the dog park. I got little Fluffy," and you're like, "Oh, yeah, that's right." And so you can build out your list. And not only do you need to build it out, you need to grow it. So you should be adding people to your list. So when you are someplace and you're meeting new people, you want to put them into your list. Now, I'm not saying start adding people to your list and then just start spamming them with, links to properties and being like, no, don't do that. That's really going to piss some people off. I know it pisses me off when I literally got an email the other day from a realtor that's like, check out my listing. And I said, I go to the MLS. I don't need you to text me your listing. If I wanted your listing, I'd find it. So be careful how you're communicating with them, but you got to build a list because there's going to be activities later on that we're going to talk about that you're going to need to do with that list. But if you've got nothing, you got to start from someplace. Again, start with your phone. Nellie, you're saying to me, but you know what? I just moved to a new area. Okay, so let's say I'm here in Florida. I moved to Utah. I don't know anybody in Utah. So I'm going to have to get a list, right? I'm going to have to start building it out. I'm going to start talking to people. I'm going to be intentional where I go. I'm going to meet people and find out, do I want to work with them? And then I might add them to my list. And we'll talk about how you add people to your list later, because like I said, you're not just going to add them in there and then spam them with a bunch of stuff and make them angry and they're going to want to get off your list. But you got to have one. Whether you've already got one or you're starting at ground zero, you got to end up having a list and you've got to manage them some way. Now, you can do an Excel spreadsheet. You could do a piece of paper. If you've got money and you want to do a CRM, that's totally fine. Whatever's going to work for you. And if your question for me is, what is the best CRM out there? I will tell you, it's going to be the one you're going to use. So don't sign up for a CRM that's a year. Sign up for something that's free or trial period. See if you like it in its tools. I have gone through like 4 different CRMs in my life. And I'm telling you, every time I change, I just like die a little inside because they're such a pain to change. But they're evolving as well. And again, I told you there's like a season for everything in your life. And we just need to go to this next CRM. But if you don't use it, it's not worth anything. And so I started with an Excel spreadsheet. And I had that until I just used it for all I could get out of it, and then I needed to go to the next level. So build your list, because without anybody, you've got no business, and you need people to get your business. Now, what do you need to learn? Because here's the most popular question. How's the market? That is the most popular question. You've probably asked other people when you were going out there, what's going on in the real estate market? People are going to ask you, how is the market? And I always love to ask other realtors that question. I'm like, hey, if I was a buyer or a seller and I came to you and I said, how's the market? What would you say? And they automatically go into telling me their feelings on the market. But this is about asking questions. So if somebody said to you, Let's say it's at a restaurant and they ask you or you ask them, what's good on the menu? I've had people just go into whatever they thought was good on the menu because it's a very broad question. And then I thought, well, you know what? I can't do dairy. See, they didn't ask me what I liked. They didn't ask me if I do, meat and protein in that way. They didn't ask me if I had any allergies. So when somebody is asking you, how's the market? Before you answer that question, you need to ask some questions like, are you buying or selling? Because it's a different market for each person. Is this going to be here in this local town, in this state, or are we talking about a different area? Is this for you or a family member? You need a lot more information before you could answer the question, how is the market? And that's what you need to learn is how is the market? So when somebody asks me that, I will ask them, I'm like, well, is this for you? And they may say, yes, this is going to be for me. And I'm like, okay, is this going to be your primary residence that you're living in? Or is this going to be like an investment property, vacation home, property for your kid going to college? And they may say, oh, it's going to be an investment property. Well, see, that market is very different than the buyer and seller market. I'm like, okay, well, are you wanting to have a commercial or residential? Do you want to manage this on your own? Do you want like a single house or do you want like a duplex or a quad? So you've got to ask a lot of different questions to know how the market is. And how do you know what the market is? So let me tell you how you find out what the market is. There's this thing, it's called the MLS. Your multiple listing service that you are going to sign up with is how you are going to find out what the market is. Another thing that you can do is you can read news articles. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of Zillow and Realtor.com and Redfin, but they do have articles on how the market is. News channels have articles on there. I even go to ChatGPT and I'll say, hey, in this city, in this area, what kind of market are you seeing? Now, take that with a grain of salt. Always take that with a grain of salt. And you can start finding out how is the market. Now, more importantly, you need to learn the market. And if you're new to the area or you are new to real estate and you're looking at, again, I'll just use Gainesville since this is where we're at. Gainesville is a big market. And if I'm trying to learn all of Gainesville, it's a lot. So pick an area. Start with like maybe a neighborhood. Find a neighborhood that you drive by all the time and you're thinking, you know what, I'd like to know more about this neighborhood. So pick one neighborhood and analyze that neighborhood. I always tell my agents, go to the neighborhood and, well, before you go there, look for all the vacant homes. If there are 5 homes in the neighborhood and 3 of them are vacant, go see the vacant homes. Start becoming familiar with their layout, what amenities are inside, what do they have like granite in there, or are they like a Formica? And what are the amenities in that area? So you familiarize yourself with the neighborhood. So for example, let's see, we found a neighborhood that we liked. We went to the multiple listing service. We found that there were 5 homes currently for sale. 3 of them are vacant, and we go see the 3 vacant homes. While we're there, we drive around and we notice, oh, there's sidewalks on the main roads, but not on the side roads. It seems to be a lot of cars parking in the streets. They've got a community with a pool and bathrooms, but there's no clubhouse. We got a basketball court, but we don't have a tennis court. So you are starting to learn about the neighborhood. In the multiple listing service, you can also go in there and find out how many homes are in that neighborhood. So let's say in this neighborhood, there's 330 homes. All right. You can find out from the multiple listing service how many homes sold in the last year. So for simple numbers, let's say in 2024, 50 homes sold in the last year. But in 2023, 75 homes sold. So it's telling you something about that neighborhood. And you're like, okay, well, what happened between 75 homes being sold and 50 homes being sold? It could be the interest rates, but you see, you're learning. So if somebody says, well, how's this, the market, you can at least talk to one neighborhood about that one neighborhood. And you will also know what is the average sales price for that area. So when somebody says, hey, I'm thinking about moving to Gainesville and I want an area that has at least a pool and a low HOA, and I want it to be within 5 miles of this, and I want, newer homes. Because you have done your research using the multiple listing service, you will build out a nice little guide of each neighborhood. So that's what I'm actually doing right now is I'm building out an Excel spreadsheet with the neighborhood, number of homes, the years that they were built, and how many homes have sold like in the last 2 years and what the average price point was there, what amenities are in that neighborhood, and how far they are to the major employers. Because we have 5 top major employers here. So people always want to know, how far am I to that? And then that way, now when somebody comes and they're moving to Gainesville, I'd be like, hey, would you like my buyer guide? I've got a guide of 100 different neighborhoods in Gainesville. Would you like to have that information? You know what? They probably do. That is how you get people to give you their information, is that you need to have something of value that they want, and they know that, you know what, I want them to send me an email. I want to learn about this. I'm going to give them my information so that I can get that. Does not mean blow them up and start spamming them. Be intentional with what you're doing, always bring value, and they will not mind getting your communications in there. And then the next email might be like, hey, here's what's changed in the market, or seeing that there are more listings coming on, or there are longer days on market. And the only way you are going to learn that is you need to learn your multiple listing service, is the only way that you're going to learn that. And so it is a very, very important tool. There's a lot more that goes into it, but this was just the nutshell on learning the multiple listing service, on figuring out very, very quickly how's the market. Another thing you can do to learn how the market is, besides going to the multiple listing service and asking like ChatGPT and going to different websites, because the different websites are going to be more of like overall, like how is Florida? They're not going to go like to how's that this little tiny town, unless you are like Orlando or Tampa, but still, those are pretty big cities. Another thing you can do is talk to agents that are top producers in that market and hear from them. So even we as agents, when we get together, we will ask, how is your market? Because we all do different markets. I've got a great friend. I like Gainesville. I like certain neighborhoods, and I like certain types of buyers, and I like certain types of price points. She has an entirely different customer and area that she works inside of Gainesville. So if my price point goes up to 700,000, and let's say her price point goes from $700,000 and over, what she's seeing as activity in that price point in that area, being a little bit more outside Gainesville, is different than what I'm experiencing. So I will ask her, what is it like for you and what are you seeing? And then I'll ask somebody else who may be in the same market she is in, but she is doing a little bit differently, or he is doing differently. So I will talk to my counterparts and I will see what's going on. Now, I always make sure I talk to somebody who's actually doing business. And how do you know if they're doing business or not? You go to the multiple listing service. There is a way in there to run a report to find out who is doing business, what kind of business that they've done, what the volume of business is that they've done, so that you can see, who is doing what. Now, I will tell you, grain of salt with that. Okay, don't hang your hat on that this is all information in there is true, because it's not. And why? If you've got a team, okay, and in your team, all the production numbers have to go underneath the team leader. And so if there's 10 people on the team, and all production has to go underneath the one person. So let's say that the team has done $10 million for the year. Well, 10 million divided by 10 people is $1 million per person. That's not a lot of production, which would be different if the team was 5 people, then it would be $2 million a piece, or the team is only 2 people, and that's, 5 million each, or just one person. So you want to make sure how many people are on the team so you're getting a good idea of what that person's actual production is. I mean, I've seen some beast in my market that on our market, the average production is around $8 million. If you're on the higher end, you're at 15 million, which is like, whoo, that's a lot. And then, over 20 is like, wow. And so I've seen some people do 50 million as a solo agent in our market, which is crazy busy and awesome. And then I've seen people do 50 million with a team of 20 people. So it's very, very different. So when I'm looking at that, I'm looking at what kind of production are they doing and where are they doing it? And that's the person I want to talk to, the one that's the rising star or the rock star in that area, and get their information on what's going on in the market and what they're seeing. I also like to do that because you're not going to be all things to all people. As you get busier, you're going to find that you like certain areas, you like certain things. Um, I do not enjoy mobile homes. I don't enjoy leaving the city limits of Gainesville. So if I'm going to leave the city limits of Gainesville, I'm most likely going to be a lot of land and probably a mobile home, which I don't want to go that far. But now I've talked to all my counterparts because I've used an MLS to find out their information. And then I know who I want to hand my business off to and get a referral fee for. So you need to know the multiple listing service. Now, another thing that's going to be important is um, your tools. And what do I mean by that on your tools? These are going to be hopefully your brokerage's tools. Your brokerage is going to have some sort of transaction management for you to do your contracts on. And so, whenever you're going to write a listing agreement or you're going to be working with a buyer, you're going to need to put that into some sort of software and send it off for electronic signature. Now, there are still people that are doing you got to take them the piece of paper and they've got to sign it. So you need to learn how to use those tools, because when somebody finally says to you, "Hey, Sarah, yes, I want you to come sell my house. Let's come over here and list it." And you don't know how to write the contract and you don't know how to use a tool to send it over to them, it can be frustrating. You're probably trying to learn at 9 o'clock at night, and whoever your instructor is or your trainer probably is not working at 9 o'clock at night. So you want to know how to use those tools. Usually it's a CRM, a customer retention management system, and it's also your transaction management system. Now, if you're lucky, maybe that brokerage has other tools for you, like marketing that you can do, but don't go there yet. Just learn how to use the multiple listing service, learn how to use your CRM if you've got one, and then also learn how to use your transaction management system, because hopefully you're going to be really, really busy and you're going to need to learn that very, very quickly. Now, in addition to the other things that you need to learn, you need to learn the contracts. That's where I see most agents really get in trouble. They're really lucky that maybe they've already got somebody who wants to buy or sell a house, and they're going to have help with the transaction management system, but they don't know the contracts. Hopefully, this is one thing that your broker is teaching you, if nothing else, is that they're going through the contract with you and they are explaining what the contract is and is not, and guiding you on helping you fill out that contract in the best interest of your customer that you're taking care of. So you need to learn the contracts. Many boards will have contract classes. You can even go to Google and say, I'm working with this type of contract, and maybe there'll be somebody on a video going over the contract with you. But please, 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 you got to learn the contract as quickly as possible. Now, you see why I said that this is a lot. This is a lot in the first 30 days. And you're thinking, I thought I was going to get my real estate license. I was going to just jump in there. I was going to start selling houses and showing houses. And you're now finding out that before you can really do any of that, you got to have customers. Well, first of all, you got to have the right brokerage. Then you got to have customers. And then you got to keep up with all the customers. And then you got to know what the market is like so you can help price the home or you can help them find a property. And then you also need to know what's going on in the MLS. And you've got to keep a good mental state because it gets crazy really, really fast. And then the other thing we haven't talked about is your lead generation. How are you going to get your leads? And I've got an entire other video on lead generation. Everything works. That's the beauty. Everything works if you work. And if you don't work, nothing's going to work. So, cold calling. There are people who've built their entire business on cold calling. It works, but you got to ask yourself, is that what you want to do? Do you have the thick skin for that? I've got a girl in my office. She cold calls all the time and she loves it. Like she lives and breathes it. It's just a high for her. Good for her. She's very, very successful. But many other people, they don't like it. Another thing that you can do is you can work for sale by owner or expireds. You may need to cold call them or go to their house or mail them, but they are their own lead source. And with the expireds, usually that first person I find is pretty angry when you get a hold of them because their house didn't sell and they expected it to sell. They had dreams, they had plans that didn't come true, and they're not happy, which is fair. So for sale by owner, they've already said, I want to sell my house, but usually they're trying to save the money or they had a bad experience. And I don't blame them if they're wanting to try for sale by owner, but you've got to get over that hurdle. And then the only people that called the for sale by owner at the beginning were other agents that were like, hey, when you don't sell your house, give me a call. So they're, not going to be so happy with the 500th phone call in that day that saying, hey, I want to sell your house for you. Then you might do door knocking. There are a lot of people, again, built their business going door to door because there's not that many people doing it. So if you're the only person that's doing door knocking, you're probably going to get some business. You got to decide if that's what you want to do. I am in Florida. It is hot. I mean, at 8 o'clock in the morning, it's already hot. I don't want to door knock. And there's mosquitoes and bugs. I don't want to do that. So not for me. There is farming. There's different ways to do farming. Most people think of when they do farming, they think of like mailings to an area. It's expensive and you need to do it for at least a year to 2 years before you really start seeing traction on it. Will you see traction like a one-off? Yes, you will. But if you really want to be successful in it and get a return on your investment, it's something you're going to need to do consistently. It does work. There's not a lot of people doing mailings anymore. So if you're the only piece of mail that's in their mailbox after a week, you've got a better chance than than doing nothing. But also, you're really trying to hit that person at the exact right time that they are thinking about selling their home. So you could be mailing somebody for 7 years before they finally go, oh, today I'm going to sell my house. Oh, she's been mailing. I got her postcards every single month. And of course, what you're sending them needs to be of value, because if you're mailing something to them that they find of no value, when they are ready to sell, they're not going to think of you as somebody with value. They're going to think of somebody else. So the last one that I love myself, and I got to tell you, I did not start loving this. I started hating this. I tried to do everything else but this. That is social media. And I am like anybody else out there. Don't like my voice. Don't like the way I look. Don't like the way I appear. I mean, like the way I look is one thing, but you start seeing your flaws. You start seeing those little things that you do that really, really bother you. It doesn't bother anybody else. You have a mental game that you play in your head, like, I don't want to say anything that's going to offend people. So you end up trying to play it safe, but then you're not you and you're so guarded. When I first started, and I made my first video, it took 8 hours to make like a 2-minute video. And it was so robotic and so bad. I hated the way I looked. I hated the way I sound. I hated everything about it. The experience was horrible. And when I finally finished the video, I was like, all right, come look at this. What do you think? Everybody said, it looked like you got a pole up there. And I'm like, I feel like it. I honestly feel like there's a pole up there too. And I was exhausted. So I didn't do video for a very, very long time because I thought, you know what? I don't want to do this. I want to go do anything but this. So I tried all the other avenues and I found that I really disliked them more than I did video. So I was like, all right, It's not like it's going to live here forever, right? I had to accept the fact this is what I look like. And if I didn't like the way I looked, I mean, this is how I face the world every day. So I'm kind of stuck with what I've got. Um, did I start paying attention to like maybe how my hair was? Yes. Did I start paying attention to my ums and ahs and the curse words that were coming out of my mouth? I did start paying attention to those things as well. So this was the lesser of all evils. And I also found out that this was really it for me. I could do an open house. And some days I would have 10 people that came by, and 9 of them were working with an agent. That was a lot of time putting into an open house. And some days I had nobody come by. And that was a lot of time for getting 0 return. Remember, I said you got to add people to your list? I got 0 return. I lost time with my friends and family. I didn't do anything to gain additional education. I didn't get any leads in. I was hot, sweaty, putting signs out in the rain. Or if I was cold calling, I mean, nothing worked. And so I realized I could post something on my social media and I would get 10 eyeballs. It was free, barely took any time, might not even be about real estate. And so I could post a video with me and my dog and I would get 10 views. And then I would start to get 50 views. And so I was like, okay, well, maybe I'll do a little bit about my dog. And then maybe I'll throw in there something about real estate. And then I'll do something about a restaurant that I went to. And so I started to sprinkle in my regular life with a little bit of real estate. And I found that people weren't liking my videos. And yeah, I was looking at everybody else's going, wow, they've got 1 million views, they've got 1 million likes, and I got 10. What is wrong with me? And then I found out that people weren't commenting and weren't liking, but they were watching. And I would be out and about and they would say, hey, so what's going on with that remodel project in the windows? Whatever happened with that? Or they would say, what's the name of that restaurant that you were at that had, the riceless roll? And it's like, oh, so I realized that people were watching. And one of them was I was at a pizza place buying a pizza to film content for that pizzas by myself because nobody wants to come out with me and film content and be caught on camera. So I'm over there, I'm waiting for them. And this individual sits down next to me and he goes, how's the market? So remember, you got to know how the market is. And I thought for a second and I'm doing a mental check and I'm like, okay, I don't have a shirt on. I'm not wearing a name tag. I don't wear a hat. So I'm trying to figure out how does he know I'm in real estate? And my face gave it away. And he looked at me and he goes, how do I know you're in real estate? I was like, yeah, like I'm not wearing anything. And he goes, I see you on Facebook all the time. I didn't know who this person was. I had never met this person in my life. And yet he knew me. And I said, okay, let's be fair now. You know me. Who are you? And so he told me who he was. I went onto Facebook immediately. I looked him up so that now we can connect. And I realized then it's free. I'm already posting stuff anyway. People are already following me. And it is bringing business. You do not need to have 1 million subscribers. You don't need to buy or pay for ads. You just need to show up and you need to be an option. And the more you show up and the more that you are an option, then the more people are going to want to use you. Now, when I say you want to show up, maybe not so many like getting drunk photos or half naked photos. Do be careful what you post because whatever you post, you're going to attract. And if you like drunk, belligerent people, then by all means, go for it. But also remember, if you're in real estate, you got to be careful of fair housing. Don't do that. So be careful what you're posting out there, but post. Share a little bit of your real estate life, share a little bit of your other life. And there's a whole going to be a different segment on like what to post in different platforms. That's not for this video, but You've got to let people know you're in the business. You've got to be an option. If you're not an option when they think of real estate, they're going to look at their other feeds and they're going to see 10 other friends that are showing something about real estate. And they're going to go, oh, that person. And I'm going to call them. And then when you run into your friend and they'll go, oh my gosh, you know what? I forgot you were in real estate. It's because you are what I call a secret agent. You made one post, you said, here I am, and then you didn't do anything else afterwards. And if you don't want to do social media, that's fine, but you better do one of the other things because sitting there and doing nothing isn't going to help you. So, in your first 30 days, there is a lot of learning. If you get to do a deal, that's amazing, but you probably may not because you don't have the customers and you don't have the social awareness. You don't have the proof that you are doing real estate. So people may not feel comfortable using you because they don't want to use somebody who's never done a transaction for the first time and they're the guinea pig. They don't want that. So you've got to learn a lot. You got to learn how to market yourself. You got to learn the contracts. You got to learn the forms. You got to learn a bunch of different systems. You've got to learn the markets. You got to learn the neighborhoods. You've got to learn if the brokerage that you're in is right. You've got to learn the agents on the other side so that you understand if you're working with somebody who's very experienced or somebody who's new that you might need to even train. So you are going to learn. You're going to have to learn how to manage your own schedule. Nobody is going to get up and say, hey, it's 9 o'clock. You're not at the office. Oh, now it's 10 o'clock. Did you make your phone calls? I mean, you might find that if you're on a team and that's what you're looking for. But for the most part, that's you. That is your business. And you gotta learn how to use your camera. You got to learn how to use your phone. You got to learn how to use a mic, editing software, all the tools that are out there. You got to learn more about social media, like should you be on Instagram or Facebook? You are going to learn and just be a sponge, soak it all up. It's a lot in your first 30 days. Let's see here. Sure. Okay, so we don't have any comments yet. So good. Now, if I have not answered your question or you're like wanting a specific question on something that you might think you need to know inside the first 30 days, um, reach out to me. You can DM me. You can call me. The other thing I would say is I consume a lot of content. Now, I don't consume content and go down the scroll hole of I'm going to watch doggy videos and pet videos and spend an hour of my life that I won't get back. No, I watch videos on how to make better content. If I'm going to make content for a platform, like what will it look like? What's working with different people? And do I like that style? I watch a lot of videos on like how to do editing. I'm not at a point that I can afford my own editor for all things. So it's me again, learning. Here I am, all these years in business, and I'm still learning. So if you've got free time, I watch a lot. Listen to a lot of stuff in the car. I listen to positive things to keep my mental state in a good place. And then I listen to a lot of things to know like what's working, what's not working, what am I willing to do, and what am I not willing to do. So this first 30 days is going to be a lot about learning in these first 30 days. So let me know if you've got any questions that I didn't answer, and I can make a video on them for the next one. All right. See you guys later.